Guthrum's peace with Alfred began after a winter invasion brought Wessex close to political collapse. The agreement was not a sudden triumph of friendship between two legendary commanders. It emerged from campaigns, failed occupations, hostages, baptism, territorial bargaining, and the needs of exhausted societies. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle supplies the main sequence, written from a West Saxon perspective shaped by Alfred's court. Coins issued under Guthrum's Christian name add a quieter record of what peace required. Together, they reveal a leader who exchanged mobile conquest for recognized rule in East Anglia. Guthrum first becomes visible among commanders of the Scandinavian Great Army operating in England. That force was a shifting coalition, not a single national army under permanent command. Its members campaigned, overwintered, took tribute, seized land, and divided according to opportunity. English kingdoms responded with battles, payments, fortification, negotiation, and rival alliances. By the 870s, Northumbria and East Anglia had already undergone violent political transformation. Mercia was weakened and partitioned, leaving Wessex as the principal independent kingdom south of the Thames. Guthrum's exact origins and early career remain unknown despite the confidence of later imagination. Contemporary annals identify his actions in England more clearly than his ancestry. In 875, the Chronicle places part of the army under Guthrum at Cambridge. The following year, his forces moved to Wareham inside Wessex and entered negotiations with Alfred. Hostages and sworn promises accompanied an agreement that the army would leave. The settlement failed when mounted troops slipped away toward Exeter. This breach shows why 9th century peace depended upon enforcement, not ceremonial words alone. Alfred blockaded Exeter, while a supporting Scandinavian fleet suffered losses at sea. Another agreement followed in 877, and the army withdrew into Mercia. Land there was divided, signaling that some warriors were becoming settlers and local power holders. Guthrum still pursued Wessex, where political control promised richer estates and greater security. Early in 878, his army attacked Alfred's royal center at Chippenham. The timing around midwinter exploited a season when households and retainers were dispersed. Many people submitted, fled overseas, or lost confidence in Alfred's ability to protect them. Alfred withdrew into the marshes of Somerset, where later stories greatly embroidered his concealment. Its terse entry names Æthelstan as his defensive base without mentioning burned cakes. From that wet landscape, messengers and local obligations helped the king rebuild an army. Military service in Wessex depended upon shires, royal estates, food supply, and personal loyalty. Guthrum likewise needed provisions, horses, intelligence, and cooperation from occupied territory. Neither commander could sustain power through battlefield reputation alone. After Easter, Alfred built a fortified position at Æthelstan and prepared his return. 7 weeks later, he summoned forces at Egbert's Stone before marching toward Guthrum. The opposing armies met at Edington, probably the Wiltshire site now associated with that name. West Saxon annals report that Alfred won and pursued Guthrum's force to its stronghold. No reliable account provides cinematic choreography or precise casualty totals. Siege and hunger mattered after the battle because Guthrum's survivors remained enclosed for about 2 weeks. They eventually sought terms, promising to leave Wessex and offering hostages. Guthrum also agreed to receive baptism, a commitment that joined religion with political settlement. 3 weeks later, Guthrum came to Aller in Somerset with around 30 leading men. Alfred stood as his baptismal sponsor, and Guthrum took the Christian name Æthelstan. The ceremony created a ritual kinship that early medieval rulers could use diplomatically. It did not necessarily erase Guthrum's Scandinavian followers or instantly transform private belief. 8 days afterward, the group removed their baptismal headbands at Wedmore. Guthrum then remained with Alfred for 12 days while gifts and terms reinforced the relationship. The familiar phrase Treaty of Wedmore can mislead when applied to a surviving boundary document. This account describes the 878 surrender, baptism, and ceremonies, but preserves no full treaty text from Wedmore. A separate agreement between Alfred and Guthrum survives in later manuscript copies. Scholars generally date it after 878, often within the following decade. Its clauses define a frontier running along the Thames, up the Lea, and toward Bedford and Watling Street. That line organized jurisdictions rather than creating an impermeable ethnic border. People, goods, marriages, fugitives, and legal claims continued to cross the negotiated landscape. The text also regulates compensation, oath procedures, trading guarantees, and movement between the two rulers' territories. Equal monetary valuations for comparable ranks helped make disputes manageable across different legal communities. Rules concerning sureties show that commerce required trusted intermediaries, not merely open roads. Peace, therefore, became an administrative practice carried by reeves, merchants, landholders, and households. The term Danelaw was not the treaty's own label for a neatly bounded Viking state. Later, usage grouped regions where Scandinavian settlement and legal influence developed in differing ways. Guthrum's settlement centered on East Anglia, where the Chronicle says his army established itself in 880. This move converted him from Wessex's invader into a territorial king. East Anglia had already suffered the killing of King Edmund in 869 and subsequent political disruption. Land allocation inevitably displaced some claims while rewarding Guthrum's followers and cooperating elites. Archaeology cannot assign every new farm or burial to a named army member. Place names, sculpture, metalwork, and later legal patterns nevertheless indicate substantial Scandinavian influence across eastern England. Local life did not divide cleanly between untouched English communities and isolated foreign settlers. Cultivation, rents, craft production, and parish development drew populations into shared regional economies. Guthrum needed those productive systems because kingship consumed grain, livestock, silver, horses, and armed service. His adoption of Christianity strengthened access to existing languages of legitimate rule. Coins struck in his Christian name, Æthelstan, make this adjustment visible. Some imitate types associated with Alfred's coinage, presenting authority through a recognizable monetary design. A coin cannot disclose Guthrum's personal convictions or prove harmony across his kingdom. It does show that his regime employed Christian royal titulature and participated in established systems of exchange. Mints required skilled die cutters, controlled metal, standards of weight, and political supervision. Every accepted coin carried the piece into markets beyond any royal meeting. Relations did not become permanently tranquil across all Scandinavian and West Saxon forces. Other armies continued to raid, and leaders followed interests independent of Guthrum. In 884 or 885, a Scandinavian force attacked Rochester before Alfred drove it away. Next, the annalist reports Alfred sending a fleet toward East Anglia. Guthrum's people became involved after violence against ships, illustrating how quickly regional peace could strain. The episode ended without renewed total war between the two rulers. Alfred gained space to fortify Wessex, reorganize defense, and confront later armies. Guthrum gained recognition, territory, and a framework for ruling a settled population. Neither outcome depended upon affection, and neither removed the damage created by earlier campaigns. Communities around Chippenham, Wareham, Exeter, and East Anglia carried losses that elite treaties barely record. Captivity, disrupted landholding, tribute, and forced movement accompanied the political map's transformation. Peace reduced one conflict while fixing the results of conquest into law. Guthrum died in 890, according to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. The annalist calls him the king whom Alfred had raised from baptism, preserving the West Saxon interpretation. That wording makes Alfred the senior Christian patron, though Guthrum remained a ruler with his own resources. East Anglian succession after Guthrum is obscure, and later Scandinavian campaigns changed the balance again. His individual settlement nonetheless outlasted the crisis of 878 by more than a decade. The achievement was neither surrender alone nor uncomplicated assimilation. Guthrum accepted ritual and legal constraints that made his authority intelligible to neighboring Christian rulers. Alfred accepted a former enemy as king across a divided political landscape. Their boundary document recognizes difference while building procedures for coexistence. Its commercial clauses reveal peace, working where cattle, silver, witnesses, and obligations crossed jurisdictions. West Saxon memory emphasizes victory because the kingdom's survival shaped its historical purpose. Guthrum's coins preserve another outcome, the defeated commander issuing money as Æthelstan, king in East Anglia. Small silver currency makes peace tangible as a negotiated conversion from invader to recognized ruler.